They say the worst pain comes not from a slap, but from a laugh. Especially when that laugh belongs to an entire classroom and it's directed at you. It happened on a Monday, the kind of day where nothing felt special until everything went to hell. I walked into class just like any other morning, dragging my feet, my bag slung over one shoulder, earbuds in, pretending the world didn't exist. But the second I stepped through the door, I knew something was wrong. People turned to look at me, not in the usual dismissive way, but with smirks, whispers, the kind of hush that swallows noise only to explode seconds later. And then she did it. Maya, the girl every guy wanted, the so-called school beauty, the queen bee of our final year. She stood on top of the teacher's desk, holding up a piece of paper like it was a sacred scroll. My, she said dramatically. Who knew someone in this class had such passionate feelings for me? I froze. My stomach dropped. No way. She unfolded the letter. My letter. And then, with all the smugness in the world, she began to read it out loud. Your smile is the only sunrise I look forward to. Your voice is the only melody I want to hear before I sleep. Laughter erupted. Chairs screeched. Someone even whistled. My face burned. I felt like I'd been set on fire. I wanted to scream, to run, to disappear. But I didn't. I just stood there, stunned. Because the worst part wasn't that she was reading my letter, it was that the letter wasn't even meant for her. I'd never written a love letter to Maya in my life. I wasn't even remotely interested in her. The letter was meant for someone else entirely. Someone who would never know no. Someone who sat quietly in the corner while the circus raged on. As Maya finished reading, she dropped the letter like trash and grinned. Next time, try poetry that doesn't sound like it's written by a 5-year-old. More laughter. More humiliation. And all I could think was, this wasn't just a prank. It was a declaration of war. Because exposing a private letter for laughs was cruel, but doing it when it wasn't even hers? That was personal. And that's what I made a silent promise. If she wanted to play games, I'd show her exactly who she messed with. My name is Ayan. I'm the guy most people don't really notice. Not invisible, just forgettable. Middle row in class, average grades, headphones always in, hoodie always up. I'm not loud. I don't seek attention. I keep my circle small on purpose. But I notice everything. Especially her. Mahair, the real reason behind that letter. The girl I'd been quietly in love with since 9th grade. The girl with eyes like monsoon clouds and a laugh that made you forget the world was a mess. She wasn't like Maya. Mahair didn't need to command a room. She just existed. Softly. Gently. And somehow, that was louder than anything else. She loved old books, wore mismatched socks, and once cried during a class presentation about endangered snow leopards. No one laughed. We all just sort of fell a little in love with her that day. Especially me. But I never said anything. I mean, what can I say? Hey, I'm Ayan, the guy who always returns your dropped pens and pretends it's no big deal? She probably didn't even know I existed beyond that quiet kid who reads a lot. So instead of talking to her, I wrote. Pages and pages. Late at night, when the world was asleep and the silence felt safe, I'd pour everything into letters I never intended to send. Until I did. One letter, slipped inside a soft blue envelope. Left inside my locker, where I knew I'd find the courage to give it to her after the midterms. That's what I thought anyway. But someone else got to it first. Someone who knew how I felt. Someone who took what was mine and twisted it into a joke. And that someone was Maya. Our school's untouchable icon. The girl who walked like she owned the corridors. Perfect hair, perfect smile, and a personality sharp enough to cut through concrete. Maya and I? We weren't friends. We weren't even enemies. We just existed in different worlds. Except once. Last year, during a group project, we'd ended up working together. It was the first time we'd actually talked. And for a moment I saw something behind her carefully curated Moscow glimpse of someone tired of always being perfect. We shared memes, laughed about how our teacher looked like a villain from a soap opera, and stayed late after school discussing the meaning of freedom for an English assignment. She even said she liked how I thought. Said I was different. That moment faded quickly, though. The project ended, and she went back to being Maya. But I never forgot it. Apparently, she hadn't either. And now, I was a punchline in her theater of cruelty. My only real friend, Samir, saw it unfold in real time. He'd rushed to my side after class, furious. "She's vile, man. What the hell was that?" I shrugged. "She thinks I wrote that for her. You didn't even sign it with a name. How'd she?" "I don't know. But I had my suspicions. Someone had to go through my locker. Someone had to see the envelope and hand it to Maya. This wasn't an accident. It was deliberate. The worst part? Mahair was there. She saw everything. She didn't laugh. She didn't speak. She just looked at me with eyes full of something I couldn't decipher. Pity? Embarrassment? Confusion? It didn't matter. Because the moment Maya read that letter, something inside me cracked. Not just because I'd been humiliated, but because the one thing I'd kept pure feelings for, had been turned into a circus. And I couldn't let that go. I couldn't sleep that night. The laughter kept echoing in my head like a broken record, looping over Maya's voice, twisting my words into something ugly. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Mahair's face. Not angry, not hurt, just blank. And that scared me more than anything. By morning, the school hallways buzzed with fake sympathy and double-edged jokes. "Damn, Ion, didn't know you were such a poet. Maybe Maya will go out with you after all, huh? Next time, just write her a WhatsApp, bro. Save some trees." I kept my head down. Silent. Controlled. But inside, I was boiling. Samir walked beside me, ready to fight anyone who so much as blinked at me the wrong way. "Dude, you need to say something. Don't just take this." "She thinks I wrote it for her," I muttered. "But why?" He paused. "You think she really believes that?" I stopped in my tracks. No, she didn't. Maya was many things vain, dramatic, ruthless, but she wasn't stupid. She'd read that letter out loud for a reason, and it wasn't because she thought it was for her. It was something else. Something personal. Something calculated. At lunch, she walked past our table like a queen surveying peasants, but I noticed at the flicker of a smirk as she glanced at me. That knowing look. She knew. And just when I thought the day couldn't get worse, I overheard it. Two girls from her group, whispering near the lockers. She actually found it in his locker. Said it wasn't even signed, but it had Mahair's favorite poem quoted at the end. So she knew. What a psycho. Why'd she even read it out loud? She said she wanted to teach him a lesson. That quiet boys like him need to learn their place. My blood ran cold. It was true. She knew it wasn't hers. She knew the letter was for Mahair. But she exposed it anyway. Not out of confusion. Not as a mistake. But as punishment. Punishment for what? I barely even existed in her world. Unless that group project meant more to her than she let on. Unless, somehow, she'd mistaken my quiet nature as something else. A connection. A spark. And then she found the letter not addressed to her and it hit her ego like a slap. That would explain everything. The cruelty, the venom in her tone, the smug pride in her eyes. She wasn't hurt. She was offended. Because someone like me, a background character in her glossy universe, dared to love someone else. That's when it all clicked. It wasn't a joke to her. It was personal. That night, I sat at my desk with my laptop open, my fingers trembling. I wasn't a fighter. I didn't do revenge. But I knew how to tell stories. And maybe it was time the school knew Maya's story too. The one behind the perfect image. The cracks beneath the gloss. I opened a blank page. Title: The truth about a queen who feared rejection. I didn't publish the blog. Not that night. Not even the night after. The draft sat open on my screen, blinking at me like a dare. Mocking me for hesitating. Because despite everything, part of me still couldn't believe it. What if I was wrong? What if Maya didn't mean to humiliate me like that? What if some part of her really had been hurt? It made no sense. But then again, nothing did. I kept replaying that group project in my head. The way she smiled when I made a joke. The way she looked away when I caught her staring. The way she hesitated just for a second before handing me her number for the assignment. Maybe, just maybe, she'd felt something too. Maybe she'd assumed the letter was for her. And when she realized it wasn't, she snapped. But even that thought didn't bring comfort. Because if it was personal, if her ego really got bruised just because I didn't love her back then, everything she did was intentional. Cruel. Calculated. And somehow, that was worse. Just post it, Samir said for the third time that week. Let people know what she did. And then what? I muttered. Turn this into a bigger drama? She made it public. She read it in front of everyone, man. This whole school thinks you're some lovesick idiot chasing after Maya like a puppy. I didn't respond. Because he wasn't wrong. But something held me back. Not fear. Not anymore. It was Mahair. I still hadn't spoken to her. She hadn't texted. Hadn't approached me. She'd just vanished into the background, like nothing happened. And maybe that was what hurt the most. I didn't expect her to fight for me. But I thought at the very least she'd ask. Ask me if it was true. Ask me if the letter was really meant for Maya. But she didn't. And that silence? It was deafening. One day after school, I found myself lingering outside the library, half hoping she'd walk by. She did. Books clutched to her chest, hair tied back, face calm but distant. Our eyes met for the briefest second. She didn't stop. Didn't smile. Just walked past me like I was a stranger. Something cracked inside my chest. I walked home that day under gray skies, the clouds hanging low like my thoughts. My hoodie was soaked by the time I reached my room, but I didn't even care. I just sat there, on the floor, drenched and hollow. What was the point of love if it only led to pain? What was the point of writing all those letters if the person they were meant for never even knew? My fingers itched to delete the blog draft, but I didn't. Instead, I added one more paragraph. She wasn't always like this. I think, once, there was a real girl under the filters and attitude. Someone who laughed for real. Someone who felt things. But somewhere along the way, she buried that girl so deep, even she couldn't find her anymore. I stared at the words, then deleted them. Too soft. Too forgiving. And yet too true. I didn't want to destroy Maya. I didn't want to be like her. I just wanted peace. But peace wasn't coming. Not when I was still a joke in the hallways. Not when Mahair still hadn't looked me in the eye. And then it happened. Thursday afternoon. I was leaving class when I heard a voice behind me. Eye on. I turned. It was her. Mahair. Her voice was quiet, but it cut through me like lightning. She walked toward me slowly, eyes unreadable. Can we talk? I nodded, swallowing the lump in my throat. We sat on the bench near the science lab, the one with initials carved into the wood. I stared at a heart-shaped one someone had drawn. Probably a lie. She broke the silence. I know the letter wasn't for her. My heart skipped. What? I knew the moment she read it, the way the words flowed, the things you said. They weren't Maya's. I blinked, confused. Then, why didn't you say anything? She looked away. Because I didn't want to assume. I didn't want to believe you felt that way about me. And then you didn't say anything either. I was humiliated, I said quietly. I thought you believed her. I didn't. She met my eyes. I just didn't know how to ask. The silence between us stretched. Heavy. Painful. But something had shifted. The air was different now. A fragile thread connected us. Something real. Something hopeful. I should have felt relief. Closure. Mahair knew the truth. She'd never believed Maya. She saw me. She heard me. For the first time in weeks, my chest felt light. My thoughts a little quieter. And for a moment, just a moment, I imagined things could go back to how they were. Maybe even become something more. But peace never lasts long in a world built on secrets. The next morning, everything changed. It started with a message from Samir. Bro, check the school's Insta page. Now. I clicked the link half asleep, expecting another meme or class schedule update. What I saw made my blood run cold. It was a video, posted anonymously, grainy but clear enough. A recording from the day Maya read the letter. Someone had filmed the whole thing, but this wasn't the version everyone saw. This video started before she got on stage. She was standing in the hallway, holding the letter, talking to one of her friends. Her voice came through, smug and cold. He actually thinks he can hide this? Please. He needs to be reminded who he's dealing with. But what if it's not for you? The friend asked. I don't care. He looked at me like he meant something. That's enough. Then it cut to her walking onto the stage, fake tears in her eyes. The caption below the post? Queen Maya caught in 4K. The humiliation was planned. By noon, it had spread like wildfire. People were reposting it, duetting it, laughing at how fake she looked. The same ones who mocked me were now turning on her. And just like that, the power shifted. In the cafeteria, she sat alone. Her loyal crew scattered, unsure if siding with her was still worth it. I watched from a distance, stunned. This was what I wanted, wasn't it? Justice. Truth. But all I felt was cold, until I got another message. This one wasn't public. It was from Maya. Meet me. Behind the gym. 10 minutes. I didn't know why I went. Curiosity? Pity? I found her leaning against the wall, arms crossed. No makeup. No crowd. Just Maya. Raw and furious. You leaked it, she said flatly. I didn't deny it. I didn't. Then who did? I don't know. But maybe karma finally got tired of waiting. Her eyes narrowed. Do you think this makes you better than me now? I didn't answer. Because it didn't. I didn't feel victorious. I didn't feel powerful. I just felt sad. You don't get it, do you? She hissed. You humiliated me. That letter made me look like a fool. No, I said quietly. You did that to yourself. Her jaw tightened. She stepped closer. You think Mahair's gonna fall for your sad little poet act? You think anyone actually cares about your feelings? I didn't flinch. But something in her eyes shifted. Like she wasn't yelling at me anymore. She was yelling at a mirror. You think you're the only one who's ever felt invisible? She whispered. And suddenly, I saw her. Not the queen bee. Not the untouchable girl. Just a girl. Angry. Wounded. Desperate to matter. You didn't have to do what you did, I said. You could have just said how you felt. She looked away. And for the first time, Maya didn't have a comeback. Only silence. That night, I got another message. From a completely different source. I know who posted the video. The sender? Mahair. I stared at my phone, rereading Mahar's message over and over. I know who posted the video. My fingers trembled as I typed back. Who? No reply. Instead, 5 minutes later, she called. I picked up instantly. I need to tell you something, she said, voice steady but low, and I need you to hear all of it before you say anything. I sat down on the edge of my bed, heart pounding. Okay? She took a breath. I posted the video. The words dropped like stones. My throat went dry. You what? I found it in the group cloud. Someone had recorded it, probably one of her friends. I recognized her voice. And you posted it? I interrupted, disbelief ripping through me. Why? Mahair? Why would you? Because I was angry, she snapped. Because I saw what she did to you, and everyone just laughed like you deserved it. And I hated it. I hated her, but more than that, I hated myself. My jaw clenched. You had no right. I know, she whispered. But I couldn't take it anymore. Watching you walk around like you were invisible, like no one cared. Stop, I said. Just stop. She fell silent. And so did I, because my head was spinning. Mahair, the one person I trusted, had done the exact thing I thought I hated most. She exposed Maya. She turned the whole school against her. She made it worse. But deep down I understood. Because if someone had given me that video, would I have done the same? Maybe. Still, it didn't make it right. I thought you were different, I finally said. She sighed. I wanted to be. I could hear her walking doors opening, students talking faintly in the background. She was on campus. Where are you? I asked. The rooftop, she replied. I needed air. I didn't know how else to tell you. I stood up. Stay there. I'm coming. 15 minutes later, I pushed open the rusted rooftop door. She was standing near the edge, her back to me, the wind tugging at her hair. She didn't turn around. I walked up slowly. Why did you really do it? She turned, eyes wet, but calm. Because I was jealous. Of Maya? No, she said, shaking her head. Of you. I blinked. What? You felt things deeply. You wrote about them. You shared them. I've been hiding behind silence and sarcasm my whole life. But you were brave. I didn't feel brave. I felt shattered. You broke her, I whispered. Do you realize that? She broke you first, she said. Everyone ignored it, laughed at it. I couldn't. So you became her. Her eyes widened like I'd slapped her. I'm not her, she said quietly. Aren't you? I asked. She used power to humiliate me. You used truth to humiliate her. She didn't reply. I walked to the edge and looked out over the campus. Small dots moving around. People who had seen my pain, laughed at it, then flipped sides like it was a game. Everything felt so loud and meaningless. I didn't want revenge, I muttered. Then what did you want? I turned to her. Someone to just believe me, without turning it into a war. She took a step closer. I believe you, but now, so does everyone else for the wrong reasons. We stood in silence. Then she whispered, I'm sorry. I looked into her eyes, and for once, the girl who always had the right words didn't. So I said it for her. I forgive you. Her lips parted slightly, like she didn't believe I could. I'm tired, Mahair, I added. Tired of being a joke. Tired of people deciding what I feel is worth. She touched my arm. Gently. You're not a joke. You're real. And maybe that scares people. I looked down at her hand, then back at her face. And for the first time since this began, I didn't feel small. I felt seen. The video stopped trending after 3 days. But the whispers? They lingered. In the corridors, people stared at Maya like she was a fallen idolsome with pity, others with concealed glee. The boys who once trailed after her avoided eye contact now, as if shame were contagious. Maya didn't return to school for a week. When she finally did, her confidence was gone. She walked with her head down, no makeup, hoodie pulled tight around her face. Her laughter, the loud, commanding kind that once echoed across the campus, was gone. And me? I had never felt lonelier. People started talking to me. Random classmates who once acted like I didn't exist suddenly asked to borrow pens, offered seats beside them, or added me in group chats. But I didn't feel like I belonged there. Their attention wasn't earned. It was given out of guilt or curiosity. I wasn't stupid, I knew the difference. And I didn't want pity. I wanted peace. Are you okay? Mahair asked me one afternoon, the two of us sitting by the campus fountain. The same spot where it had all started. I don't know, I admitted. The air between us was different now. Not tense. Not romantic. just complicated. She had tried to make things right in her own broken way. And even though I forgave her, something between us had shifted. I wasn't the same guy she joked with in literature class. And she wasn't the same girl who mocked the world from behind her books. We both seen too much of each other's darkness. I think about deleting the video every day, she said suddenly. Even now. It's too late, I said quietly. The damage is done. Deleting it won't erase what people saw. But maybe it can erase what I did, she said. Her voice cracked slightly. I looked at her. You're not a bad person, Mahair. Juicy reckless. She nodded, biting her lip. Reckless with people I care about. That stung more than I expected. Later that week, I saw Maya. We crossed paths outside the library. For a moment, we both just froze. I didn't expect her to speak. But she did. I didn't know, she whispered. I frowned. Didn't know what? That the letter wasn't about me. So she had read it. The part of me that once loved her might have flinched. But I felt nothing. I never meant for it to blow up like that, she continued, tears gathering at the corner of her eyes. I thought it was a prank. I didn't know you were serious. I was stupid. You were cruel, I corrected. She looked down. I know. Silence stretched between us. Then she asked, Did you ever love me? It should have been a hard question. But it wasn't. I thought I did, I said. But looking back, I think I was just in love with the idea of someone seeing me. Her eyes welled up, and she gave a shaky nod. I'm sorry, she said. And this time, I believed her. I hope you learn from it, I replied, and I hope you heal. She wiped her cheek and walked away. No drama. No vengeance. Just closure. In the days that followed, I found myself spending less time online and more time in real life reading, writing, walking around without earphones in. Not hiding. And when I wrote now, it wasn't about longing for someone to notice me. It was about noticing myself. I joined the school literary club again. Not for attention. Just to share. My stories no longer started with Dear Maya. They started with Dear Me. One afternoon, as I pinned a new poem to the club's wallboard, someone tapped my shoulder. I turned. It was Mahair. I read it, she said softly, motioning to the poem. It's beautiful. Thanks, I said. It's just something I've been working on. She hesitated. I was thinking maybe we could go back to being classmates who argue over metaphors. I gave a small smile. Maybe. She smiled too. Not wide. Not flirtatious. Just enough. Enough to know that maybe we'd never go back to what we were, but we could move forward as something else. The bell rang, and students poured out of classrooms. Life moved on. So did I. And for the first time since that stupid letter, I didn't feel ashamed of being seen. I wasn't invisible anymore. But more importantly, I didn't need to be noticed to feel real. I finally saw myself. And that was enough.